Okay, I'd like to call to order, hang on, the Douglas Library Board of Trustees regular meeting for Monday, April 10th to 2023 at 7 p.m. I think we have any guests tonight? I don't see any. Okay, first item on the agenda would be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Okay. Okay. So I don't see any publics here, so we'll skip public comment, I believe. Okay. I believe the next item, wait a minute. What about the minutes?
That's the next item.
Yep, under secretary report.
Under reports.
Oh, under reports. Okay, because there's a missing number 4 on my agenda.
Oh, I apologize. I assumed they would have renumbered themselves, but I guess they didn't.
Oh, okay. All right then. So our next thing would be the secretary report, and I believe we're approving the minutes from 3/13. I was not present, so I will participate in the discussion. Did anyone have any changes?
I'll move acceptance of the minutes as presented.
I will second.
Any discussion?
I have
All
one
those-
minor correction, if that's okay. Just
Sure.
there's on page 2, top line, status as needs a space between the 2 words.
Okay. Peter, would you like to change your motion to accept the minutes with the amendment that Mr. Sullivan suggested?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, now I need a second for the revised motion.
I second.
Okay, now is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions. Gail, what did you do to your hand? I can't hear you. Oh,
You're
well.
on mute, Gail.
Every time we see her, she has something else managed.
Oh, she.
It's been a bad few months, Pat.
Okay, this is new?
Yes.
About 5 weeks ago, yeah.
Oh, geez.
This is the modified cast.
Oh, my God. Well, you're still
And
with
I'm
us.
left-handed. Can you imagine? My left hand and I'm left-handed.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, I hope you feel better and everything's healing okay. The next item, I believe, is the financial report.
Yep, I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so here's the finances where we are as of last week. Doing fairly well on most of the lines. A little bit high on computer technology, but that had to do with some purchases that we made early in the year that we were talking about for last year. So that's all well and good. Some of these smaller items like meetings and conferences is going to be spent down in the next month. We have the library conference and I'm sending somebody from the staff, so that's going to eat up most of that. But yeah, for the most part, everything looks like it's in good shape. We're still, a bit behind ahead on the part-time payroll because we've just been so short-staffed. But things are slowly improving in that department. Yeah, and building maintenance, we've had a lot of maintenance this year too. So we've spent maybe a bit more there, even though it's still just at 44%.
So you don't anticipate any problems come year end?
No, we're in good shape for year end. You know, barring another big disaster or some very expensive building issues, we should be in good shape. I'm doing my best to get everything planned as well as I can, because I know that the finance department usually likes us to have things buttoned up, you know, in May or early June. So trying to get that ready, so that it'll be easy for Claire and Sherry to kind of shepherd it through the end of the year until I'm back in June.
Oh,
Okay.
that's what I was just gonna ask, was what the year is considered for this is. So I'm assuming it's not calendar year, it's like fiscal year.
Yeah, it's fiscal year, so it's June 30th to July 1st to June 30th.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay,
It runs with the town's budget.
yeah, they pay. We have to put in our budget to the town to get a budget, and our fiscal year runs the same.
Okay.
But Kevin knows more about this than I do. I pretend I know something, but I really don't. Okay.
That was right. It's pretty good.
Thank you. Can we have a report of the library director, please?
Sure. So Maple Fest was last month. So we were open Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 4, the whole library building, which was new to us for Sunday. But I thought it was a big success. We had a lot of patrons come through and compliment us on how nice the facility was. No big messes as far as the public coming in. There wasn't like there was food left all over the place. And the janitor that we had did a really good job keeping up with the bathrooms and everything on the first floor. So it's always going to be a heavy usage on that first floor because everybody's getting through to come to the vendors. But I thought the place looked really good on Monday. So happy about that. I'm hoping we can keep being open on Sundays. It's going to depend on just whether I can get staff to volunteer for it, because they're always a little trepidatious about working that weekend. It's just so different from the rest of their year. As I mentioned in the budget, we're still kind of up against some staffing issues. We're working to try and get through that. So we hired a new LTA1, Derek White. He's been here with us for a couple of weeks, and he's doing great. So he's a college student, and he's going to be able to work a few more hours for us come summer as well. So we're looking forward to that. That'll help us out quite a bit. We had planned for a second hire last month that I had mentioned, and that ended up falling through. So what we have right now is an open position that's listed on the town website. It's been up for about 2 weeks, and I would love to be able to hire somebody before I go on leave. I'm not sure whether that's going to be possible or not. We haven't gotten a lot of applications yet, but if we get some, and we manage to be able to do an interview, then that would be ideal, because I would love to be able to leave everybody with a full staff, even if they're not starting for a couple more weeks. So we'll see. Couple of resignations. Karen Vogel resigned her position. She'd been out for a while, but she officially resigned. And John Dutry will be resigning on Memorial Day. So he's been here for a while, and he's a favorite at the desk, so he's going to really be missed. But if we're able to hire additional person, then we will be in good shape. We would need actually 2 more people to get back to normal, covering for John as well. So it's been a rough 6-8 months as far as staffing goes. It's going to improve in the summer a bit, just because a lot of people work involves the school system, and they'll be able to put in some daytime hours and stuff during the summer, or want a few more hours. So that's helpful, but you're also contending with vacations and that sort of stuff. March was a really good month for the library, numbers wise. We had a record gate count, as far as I can tell, 8,561. And that's huge. A lot of that is thanks to Maple Fest, and it's thanks to Code's Waking Up White event that they had here in early March. But we have Maple Fest every year, and even if the library building wasn't open most Sundays, the bottom floor still was, and that gate count still gets the same amount of people coming through. So it's just a good showing for the number of people coming in the door. We added 98 library cards last month, which is
Ooh, that's great.
that's great. That's a lot more than we usually do. And our circulation was high. It was 6293, which is the 30% increase from last March. So even though we had a high gate count, it doesn't always translate to circulations. So the public's really using us, and those numbers are going up. So I'm really happy about that.
That's great.
Kevin, can you attribute some of that to Sherry's work with Gilead Hill School?
I think that Sherry, a lot of this can be attributed to what she's done with the story time program. I know we've had a lot of kids come in from Gilead Hill School to use their library cards, and that's been great. But they've been getting a lot higher numbers at story time, and that's a great driver for circulation because you get parents coming in on a regular basis. They take a stack of kids' books every week, and they bring them back the next week. So I think that's a big cause of all the parents kind of getting used to being back here in person and taking their kids out to the story time every week.
Good, thank you.
I have a couple questions, Kevin, with the staff.
Yeah.
John is going to be leaving at the end of May. So that will leave us how many people short if you're not able to hire anyone else?
2 people short.
2 short, okay.
Yeah.
I had a concern because I've been in there the last few times there's been early dismissal from school. And I couldn't believe the amount of kids that were in there. And of course, the noise level goes up, which, didn't really bother me. But it's not so easy with that library to have someone overseeing a large crowd like that.
Yeah.
So would you feel that we should maybe have an extra 1 or 2 staff on those days?
Absolutely. So yeah, I would love to have that. And that's going to be what we will do going forward once we are back up
Okay.
to full strength with the staff. It just
Okay.
hasn't been possible with building the calendar right now.
Yeah.
It's been a mix, like we've had a big buy-in from like middle school, early high school kids over the
Right.
past 2 school years,
Right.
which is great. It's a mixed blessing because we don't have the staff the resources to devote to keeping them entertained. And they're kids, they want to socialize, they want to make some noise. It's
Right. Right.
they're more of a handful to keep in line than the adults that come through.
Yeah.
That's a very diplomatic way of saying that.
There's a handful that aren't great, but they're all well-meaning kids, and we've been kind of tweaking how we approach them. We've been gradually taking away freedoms as they show that they can't be trusted with them. So we've been tightening up a little bit with how we've approached it, and I think we've reached a point where we have their behavior mostly under control. But what I'd really like to do is have another person on at minimum for those half days. We really could use it a lot of school days.
Yeah.
And maybe see what we could do to push the group that just wants to socialize and maybe have them in the community room, which would be away from the rest of the library. We've gotten a few complaints about it being noisier than it used to be. And I'm sympathetic to that, but it's their library too. And as long as they're staying within the code of conduct, I think, it's great. They're allowed to be here too. And, if you get 40 middle schoolers together, they're going to make a lot of noise, even if they're behaving. You get 40 adults together, they're going to make a lot of noise probably too.
Yeah.
So I think that there needs to be a little bit of understanding from the rest of the public that, where do you want your kids going after school? There's
Right.
not a lot of places they can go here. And if they end up at the library, I'm doing everything I can in my power to not kick them out because this is a good spot for them to be.
Yeah.
I was just
So-
gonna say, yeah, as a teacher in district, and I am absolutely sympathetic to, to parents and adults who are like, oh, there's a ton of kids at the library and it's really loud and I wanted to take my like 2-year-old. I 100% get that. And I do think
Yeah.
it'll be easier when we have a couple more staff members. But really, I look at it from the perspective of all the places kids could go and things they could be doing after school. If they're choosing to go to the library, even if they're not necessarily
Mhm.
taking a book out, like it's a good environment. And I would
Yeah.
want to encourage that, obviously within reason. Like you said, you can't have kids like being disruptive or violating the, code of conduct and stuff. But I definitely think it's beneficial to have them feel like it's okay for them to go to the library.
Yeah, and I think it's a culture change thing. I think if we
Yeah.
keep this up for a few years, then it's going to be a regular
Yeah.
thing. Because before we'd have groups of kids find us and then summer would happen and then their schedule would be different the next year and they'd disappear. So for it to be a regular thing would be great.
Yeah.
And that whole teen zone area is really being put to good use. So it's all good things. It's just
So,
strained resources.
would it,
Right.
well, be, I'm just gonna say, coordinate with Park and Recs and have them offer something on those days at the library?
I think that's a great idea. I've spoken to Craig about it. And I've spoken to Tressa over at AHM a little bit too, to see if we can coordinate on some sort of programming, and we haven't figured anything out just yet.
Yeah.
But this is the same audience that, all of us are kind of like looking to get. So I'm hoping that we can work together and make it a successful thing for all of us, because if they
Yeah.
can help share the burden of keeping a few more eyes on everybody, then yeah, there's no reason we all can't, give a little bit and have it be a success for all three groups.
Mhm. And what about the wages? I know the last probably 2 years now, we've been trying to bring them up, so they weren't right at minimum wage, hoping to retain more people.
Yeah. Well-
But with the minimum wage increasing, are they now back at the new minimum wage?
The LTA ones are essentially back at the new minimum wage, and it's gonna bump to 15 starting June 1st.
Yeah,
So all the LTA ones will be at that level. And then the LTA twos aren't that much ahead of that anymore. I know the town's been working to give percentage increases to those staff members. And that's helping a little, but the way that minimum wage has gone up pretty quickly over the past couple of years.
yeah, it really has.
It just sort of, that's the reality of where we're at. And I think it probably does hurt with retention, and it
Yeah.
hurts. I know that I've definitely had people that wanted to work at the desk, but couldn't get, really needed to be making a couple more dollars an hour, or felt that that's what they
Yeah.
wanted to do. So we've had people that were offered the position and then ultimately decided not to take it.
Mhm.
So, that it's a budgetary problem, and I know that there's a lot of people looking for funds out of the town budget, and there's
Yeah,
limited
yeah.
resources, but
Yeah.
I do think that's part of the reason why we're hurting with the
Yeah.
staffing right now.
And I mean, our staff has, if not the highest, close to the highest contact with the public. So you really want to retain qualified people that have the right personality to deal with the public.
Absolutely.
And I think we kind of get thrown by the wayside a little bit. Or in the past we did. I mean, it has improved, but I really think we have to keep promoting that. How many or what percentage of our residents come in contact with our employees? Cause I mean, all you need is one complaint. It kind of backs you up 3 steps, but I really think we still need to do what we can to give them more per hour. Because they don't get that many hours anyway, so.
Yeah,
Do
they
we? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they do great work. They really do.
Yeah,
And,
they have
they have a
great
tremendous
staff.
amount of institutional knowledge after they've been here for a couple of years that
Yeah,
I think is also very valuable.
yeah.
I was
Meg,
just
do
gonna
you
say
have a comment?
to work there. I think you had mentioned one of the new people there is in college, so it's fine. You just need like a high school diploma. Like you can have students that are in college can work there. Because I was just thinking like students, people that maybe live in town but attend, attend like MCC or UConn or Eastern or something like that, who can work around more flexible school schedule. That might be something that would be beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. I think it doesn't even require a high school diploma, really. It's just the
Okay.
hours that we need typically won't work for somebody that's in high school. But we
Right.
had an employee a couple of years ago who started in high school and went, she worked here all through college during breaks, and then she just left last year
Yeah.
to pursue her master's. So
Was that Ashley?
yeah,
Yeah, she was awesome.
yeah, she was great.
But I'm wondering if that is something though that we could forward the position to the business person at Ram High School, just to see if there is, if that would work for someone.
Sure, yeah, that's a good idea.
Or how about at MCC where they have a library program?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could go to the placement office at the MCC, they have a student employment office. And they're always putting up brochures and whatnot and notices on them. They have a job bulletin board there, which would be nice to have something there.
Yeah,
Great.
that's a good idea. Yeah, because typically what I do is I put it out on all of the library channels, and it goes out on the social media channels too, because what we're trying to do is attract people, that are local, kind of a mix of local people and then people that also have some interest in libraries as a profession, because it's a good balance. That way you bring in some new ideas, and you get some people that are really interested in stuff, even if they're just going to be around for a handful of years, why they're deciding to go for their master's and why they're finishing. And then you get the local people that really know the town, because a lot of the questions, they're not necessarily questions you can research or find. It just, you live here for a while and you can answer them better than other people. So that's always the goal, to kind of have a good balance of different types of people up there.
Okay. I guess, any more questions right now or moving on?
Have you finished your report?
I've got more I can go through with the report. So we started a seed garden. We got a donation through the UConn Master Gardeners program of a bunch of seed packets, and the Friends of the Library bought us a couple of display cases and some envelopes. So it's free and open for anybody the public wants to come in and, take the 15 basil seeds they actually need instead of the 1,000 that come in the envelope, and then close it up. But we have a variety of vegetables and flowers, and it's just a new initiative we're trying out, seeing how the public responds to it. So far so good. We have it out on display. It's a good spring display. We also have some new digitization equipment. This came from the Friends of the Library as well. So as part of a makerspace item, this is for digitizing videos and photos and slides. So everybody has boxes of that stuff in their basement.
Oh, really?
And I thought that it would be useful if we could buy something a little nicer than you might buy for yourself. So instead of a flatbed, one photo at a time, it'll feed through the scanner and it does it a bit quicker. So we have a photo scanner and a slide and negative scanner. And then the video thing, it's just a little box that plugs into AV cables. So you have old tapes, whether they're high 8 or VHS-C or VHS, you can run them through your VHS, your camcorder, and record them, and then have a digital file, and then get rid of the tape before it disintegrates.
Nice.
Pretty easy to use. We're still working on getting everybody trained and making some documentation for it, but that's a new thing that we'll have out as well. And then final thing on the report is that I was invited to attend the Hebron Lions Night of Giving on the 26th of April to receive a donation, and I will likely be out then. So Pat is going to be attending in my stead, which is very nice of her.
Perfect.
And yeah, the Lions give us a generous donation every year, and last year we used it to purchase the new 3D printer. So I think we've got some good stuff to tell them about how well that's been used.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
need to talk to you about that, Kevin, and get something to do a little presentation.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to print you out a little thing with the Lions logo on it that you can.
Yeah, I should
give
come
to 'em.
down and look at it, so I at least know what I'm talking about.
Sure, yeah, I'll write you up a little something.
I
Yeah.
have so many students who have things from the library, from the 3D
Oh.
printer.
You have all the
Really?
lizards in your classes.
like
Yeah.
even high school kids, because it's like, like kind of more than nerdy kids anyway. Like one kid had it at their lunch table, and then all their friends were like, "Where'd you get that?" It was like a lizard,
Yeah, we've
so
made
then
so many of those.
The
they
lizards?
love it.
Yeah, they're these articulated. It's a red-eyed crocodile skink.
Right.
But it's like about a foot long. It looks in. It's really
A
cool.
foot
It's like,
long?
kinda like a chain. They're neat. They just I finally caught up with them over the weekend. So this is the first time in I think in probably 2 months I haven't had any requests to do.
I'm
That's great.
requesting one to take to the Lions.
Yes.
They can have a lizard if they want.
I mean, no, I mean,
And they
that would
can-
be a good thing to show that, how popular it is with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then most people, I can hand it around and they won't pay any attention to me, which was well.
There you go. So I've got some building stuff to talk about
Okay.
here too. So S&E Building Systems came in on the 6th. They installed a heat sensor in the reading room and replaced the sensors on the basement floor with the new ones that can also detect humidity. So this was part of the issue with why we had the pipe bursting issue. The reading room where the heat sensor, the reading room is on the same zone as the back room of the library, and the heat sensor is in the back room of the library, where it gets a lot more, it's more centrally located, it gets heat from the desk, and what happens is it doesn't call for enough heat to heat up the reading room, which is older, draftier, more windows, all that stuff. So now it's going to take these 2 points, it's going to take an average, and it's going to be calling for heat for that zone more often. And then the humidity sensors on the first floor, when the building starts to smell a little like a fishbowl in August, September, what this is going to do is it's going to turn on the boiler and it'll pull the moisture out of the air, and then it'll kind of compensate with air conditioning so it doesn't get too moist down there. So this was a solution that we've been looking at for a while, and it's nice that it's in place. We won't really get to test it until end of summer and next winter, but we should be good here. We're still waiting on some replacement carpets in the reading room. I don't have an anticipated date, but I reached out to the company that's installing it to see if there's anything closer for when they're going to be doing that work. Should be very quick once they get here. They should be able to slap it down in 2 hours, but we've got to get here. We got hardware to expand the Wi-Fi signal outside of the building. So this was part of the ARPA grant that was back ordered for about 18 months or so. So one of these boxes will be mounted on each side of the building. And I think I included some images of them further on in your packet.
Yeah.
They're like 8 inches by 9 inches, an off-white box. They're paintable if you wanted to paint them. I spoke to Matt over in the building department to just see if there would be any issue with getting them on the front of the building with it being a historic district. And he told me that he didn't think it would be an issue, so we can go ahead and put them up. If we could paint them to match the building, that would be preferable. So maybe we can do that down the line. So I'm getting a quote right now to run Ethernet to the 4 locations in the building where Novus recommended that they're installed. And once the Ethernet's there, they're going to be pretty easy to put up. So hopefully that'll be able to happen over the summer. We're still waiting on the final window for the window replacement project. That's where we've been stalled at for a long time. There was a change in staffing at Stanford and Holly that's doing that's making the window, and Ray Pierce is on them and kind of keeps asking about it. So I just keep making sure that it's still happening. It just takes forever to get a custom made window right now. New England Steam clean the carpets after Maple Fest, so building's in good shape. And then this will be our annual clean the carpets after we have the big event. Regarding the roof project, the building committee had a kickoff meeting for the construction of the roof project with BPD Roof Consulting, Young Developers who's doing the work, myself and Donna. And we talked just about some details of the project. We're going to try and stay on the same page by having a weekly meeting with library staff and the construction company to make sure that we're coordinating library services around the needs of the project as best we can. I'll be attending those meetings as long as I'm here, and then Sherry will be taking over them while I'm gone. So right now we're anticipating being able to be open for the entirety of the project. The only potential time when we're going to have to close right now is when the underlaying plywood is being put on the roof. They use nail guns, and there's some concern that if they miss the stud when they're putting down that plywood, it could shoot through the ceiling on the children's floor. So we're going to be closing down the children's floor when that work's being done, or coordinate doing it while the building is closed. We don't know exactly yet, but other than that, it seems like we're going to be able to maintain regular hours and services, at least for now. They anticipate working from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday. They'll be putting gating up anytime around the building. So it's going to take up the front section of the side parking lot closest to the main entrance. There'll be a covered walkway from the back part of that side entrance up to the main entrance. There'll also be a covered walkway out the exit, the emergency exit, coming out the rear of the building. So the flow of traffic is going to change slightly. So coming off of Route 66 will be a one-way against the grain of where you're supposed to go right now along that back part of that parking lot, and then exiting out onto the back entrance by Route 85. So you can't exit the parking lot onto Route 86 while this project's happening. So it'll all be gated off, and we'll have signs and everything. So hopefully it'll be fairly clear. But that will be happening, and the recycling bins and the Friends discard bins will be moved out towards the parking lot outside of the gates in the back of the building, so they'll still be accessible. Color choices for the shingles and gutters were selected to match the current what's up there right now as best as possible. The selections were sent to the Historic Properties Commission. They reviewed them, and the body approved those choices. So you've got an image of them in your packet. It's just very close to what's already on there. Yeah, especially on the gutters, the almond looks pretty much like an exact match. So we don't have an exact start. We don't have a start date yet. It's just, everything is kind of pointing to it could start anytime. On the town's end, it seems like just about every decision that needs to be made with us has been made, and we're just waiting for the contractors to make their decision for when they're going to start doing the work and put the fence up. So it could start before the end of the week, for all I know. I don't know. I'm hoping it's soon.
Kevin, best case scenario, weather permitting, 6 days a week. What's their timeline on start to completion?
I didn't get I don't have a solid idea start to completion, but they still think they'll be able to hit the goal of having the roof finished before school is out. So that's been the goal,
good.
because for summer reading, we want to try and have the parking lot back to the way it's
Right.
supposed to be.
Cool.
Okay,
So,
thank you, thank you.
Middle of June, hopefully. Okay, and I think that's the end of my report. You've just got some charts in there that show the numbers from March, how much higher they were than the months surrounding them, and photo of the roofing and gutter materials, and also the projected locations for the Wi-Fi hotspots.
Is that going to be, expand out, or is it going to be a set range? Or it's just going to be open?
Well, the idea is to cover the entire footprint of the library. They're tunable to adjust the range of how far they can go. Like in a perfect scenario, I think that these could send a Wi-Fi signal like miles away. Trees and buildings would stop that. So what I was told by Novus is that we'll be able to turn them on and then kind of tune them back so they roughly hit the edge of our property. But they have the capability of going further, and it'll be an open Wi-Fi network. It'll be just like walking in the building, and connecting to the network that we have here. So we do have the option, if we wanted to put any sort of terms of agreement or any changes, that's something we could add on if we needed to.
Yeah, because I don't want a tent city out there on the property line, people camping out and using the Wi-Fi.
Well, we get a truck city sometimes in the morning and after we're closed in the parking lot, pulling up to the building with their laptops. So at least this way they don't have to search to find the edge of the Wi-Fi.
Okay. I just wondered. Okay, that takes care of the library director. Friends of the Douglas Library. Anybody reporting on that tonight?
No, they sold a lot of baskets through Maple Fest. They did very well throughout Easter. It's always a really good time for them selling materials. Yeah, and they're just, plugging away, always looking for more volunteers, more people to help out.
Okay. Town manager representative. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think Kevin did an excellent job on the status of the roof, so I have nothing to add to that at this point. The budget hearing is on Tuesday, April 18th at 7 p.m. It is a virtual budget hearing, and we encourage everybody to attend. The budget as it stands right now is at almost a 7% increase. The mill rate that translates to is a 34.09 mill rate, which is a few mills higher than where we currently stand. So there probably is a little bit more work that needs to happen to that budget, but that is the budget that the Board of Finance is recommending to public hearing.
Could you repeat the date again? The 17th?
It's April 18th, Tuesday
18th.
the 18th at 7 p.m. and it is virtual.
And the link is on the website?
The links are on the website, yes. Yep. So the way that works is at 7 p.m. it'll be the public hearing, and then right after the public hearing that night, the Board of Finance will hold a regular meeting and set the budget that they'll send to referendum. And the referendum is on May 2nd. That's all day at Hebron Elementary School, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And the only other thing I have is still needing to get everybody to comply with using the town issued emails. And if you haven't been able to activate your email or get your email going, just let me know and I can help you out with that. And that's all I have.
I also just heard that Microsoft is putting out a product which will allow you to link all your emails through your regular account. So They didn't used to hook up with Gmail and a couple other providers, but that's going to be changing during this year. So it'll make it easier for people who have trouble linking up emails. Okay, thank you. All right, next would be the Board of Selectmen.
No, as usual, I have nothing to add to Donna's report, which is always complete.
Okay. And I have nothing to report except Kevin's got to tell me what to say on the 26th. Okay. Moving on to old business, the challenge material policies, which is in our packet, I believe.
Yeah, I have that just as a part of policy review. We had challenge materials policy as an old business item for a while, and we talked about revamping it completely. But we do have the current challenge materials policy as part of the just the monthly policy review that we're going over a little bit later on the agenda.
Okay. All right. Okay, that is getting to be a very serious issue.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And, oh, Gail, you have anything to add on that? You are hooked into the state.
No, I believe that the freedom to read is very vital to life for all of us. And no, so no, I have nothing to add to that right now. Just freedom to read. Alice Knapp, that's Knapp, wrote a piece which is out on the town's website. Actually, it's on our ACLB thing also, about the freedom to read.
Okay.
So you should have the ability to read what you want to read when you want to.
Okay.
Fortunately,
Just
we're
wondering
not
if
in Florida.
There's worse things coming, actually. Some states are going to be stating that the legislature will be reviewing library materials and having a
Yeah.
protest. So,
Not exactly freedom to read, is it?
no, not at all. So everyone's got their own little, agenda to push. Okay, next is the poet laureate.
MA is not here today, which is too bad because there's
It's
something
okay.
to report on the poet laureate.
Yeah, I thought they
We
were
had-
having readings, weren't they?
We had a meeting of the poets on April 1st. It was so Saturday afternoon, and we had 10 people attend. They were very,
Really?
yeah, we were very excited that it was offered. It was a combination of local poets and people that were just interested in poetry. So we were there for a couple of hours, and some people read their own pieces. Some people read pieces that were that they liked, that were written by other authors, and it was just a very nice little event. So so we want to do something again like that soon. It was so I know that MA is looking at that, and she mentioned the laureate as all these individuals, and just said that might be coming, but it wasn't something that she made a really pushed that hard there. We had a couple of applications, but it was just putting out feelers. So there's a group that's really excited about poetry in town, and that's great.
Great.
We didn't know what to expect when we put the posters out.
Our town is literate.
Yeah.
Okay, in-person meetings.
It's a continuation of the discussion from last month, whether we want to move these meetings back to in person, whether we'd like to remain virtual, whether we want to do some sort of a combination of the two.
And what was the result of the discussion?
I think the result of the discussion was, let's talk about it next month.
Well, and now we're next month again now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And basically, Pat, neither you nor Gail were present at the meeting. And I thought it was important that we get your input, both of your inputs, into making that decision. So we held it off till this month, which doesn't mean we need to make the decision this month, but it just wouldn't have been right to make that decision without your input.
Oh, thank you. my input is the virtual meeting works for me because of my work schedule. And the fact that I have a lot of evening meetings as it is. And sometimes it would be very difficult for me to drive down after getting done at a late meeting at work. So I would be looking perhaps for a hybrid meeting. I've been attending a lot of meetings where they have had hybrid meetings, like for condo associations, and they have gone particularly well. And the Bolton Library has just got a program set up for hybrid meetings. They have the equipment now. And actually, come to find out, Liz, who runs the Bolton Library, is my neighbor. Who knew? So I'll be looking into that. But I think, hybrid meetings are, people are getting used to having virtual meetings. And some people prefer having in-person meetings. So I think maybe the next step would be to move into some sort of hybrid meetings and see where it goes from there. So if we get the equipment, I don't know if we have the equipment, Donna, do we?
No, Donna and I have been looking at it though. So we had some vendors come in and present some plans for how to turn the community room into a space that would work for hybrid meetings. And it's fairly complicated. It's less complicated for a board of our size.
Okay,
But we want something that's going to work, for budget hearings and, large council meetings and town meetings. And larger space, it just gets to be more complicated trying to figure out who to present where and, not to have too much noise over, making it so you can't see anything.
yeah,
So it's something that's been on our plates and we're working towards. We may be able to find something smaller that would work for this group, but it would be a separate purchase. Anecdotally, I know a friend of mine is on a board in Tolland, and they just have a little owl unit that they use that works very well for them,
yeah,
which was something we were looking at for ARPA at one point.
That's
So
what
that's more of
Bolton
a
has.
board our size.
Bolton has the OWL unit.
Yeah.
And if anyone's interested, this would be very happy to demonstrate it to you, Kevin, if you're interested in playing with it for a little bit.
Well, maybe when I'm back, I could just borrow it from her and we could try it for a meeting or something like that and see how it goes. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think
I
it's supposed
probably
to
have
function
to,
well with Zoom and
I probably would be held hostage. You're doing that. So, yeah, okay, but what's your
What's
feeling
the?
here?
Oh, I was just gonna say, what's the OWL unit?
It's a meeting for participation for virtual meetings and also for hybrid meetings. And it includes the ability to have everybody in the room see what's people that are on the screen, sort of like we're seeing here. And
Mhm.
also the ability to have people speak virtually, which is absolutely nuts sometimes. And so they can control who's calling in and who's speaking. And also set a microphone so that people can hear everything that's going on in the room. And also having some sort of visual thing. I think in the one they have, you have to be in a certain area to be seen. But so people can see who's speaking. So, it really does
Perfect.
feel, it does feel odd at first, but after a while, you sort of forget that the people aren't really there. So.
Right. No, that sounds great. I would say I taught hybrid for the 2020-2021 school year, which was awful, but only because you had to do it every single day and no one had ever done anything like that before. And
Okay.
it was just, we were dealing with like 7,000 other things at the same time. But I will say, by the end of the year, it was a lot easier because like everyone was used to it. We had worked out all the kinks and everything like that. So that's why I was wondering what the unit was. Ours was not perfect. And I think that was just because, at that point in time, no one really knew what they were doing. The school was just trying to throw anything together that worked. But we did have, I had an external microphone that connected to my laptop and it had a long cord and we would set that in the middle of the classroom and it had a pretty decent range. So it would pick up what students in the classroom said so that students who were logging in at home could hear it. So yeah, so if you have hybrid done well can actually be very successful.
If you'd like, I could make arrangement with, so you could go see it at the Bolton Library if you're interested.
Well, I think Kevin just posted the link to the Owl Labs in the chat, so I was gonna
Okay.
check that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
You
sounds
know,
great.
My experience has been, that has been the best of the ones I've participated in. A lot of the management companies have their own systems, which are, some are proprietary and some are just horrible.
Right.
Most of it, they have no control of who's speaking. People are cutting each other off, they black out. But this
Yeah.
doesn't seem to have the same problems. So
Nice.
I like it a lot. Gail,
I'll just,
sorry.
oh, it's Donna. I just wanted to follow up on that. And we, like Kevin said, we are aware of the owl, and that was something that he was looking at early on. But the owl definitely works for a smaller group,
Small group.
but it is not going to be sufficient for the type of virtual meeting rooms that we're setting up. So we do have a couple different vendors, one that we've had several meetings with. We're going to do a field trip to the town of, is it Putnam?
I think it's Putnam.
Putnam just put in, they built a new town hall with a virtual meeting room that has
Oh, awesome.
equipment similar to what they are proposing. We do have money budgeted for this. We
Okay.
want to make sure we do it right. We don't want
Right.
to spend tens of thousands of dollars and have some equipment that is too hard to use. We want it to be able to be used by our staff for the meetings that we need to, but we also want to make sure that, if we have visiting groups coming in to do a meeting, that it's something that they will be able to use without us having to be there for them.
Sure.
So it definitely is in the works.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Gail, do you have any thoughts on this? Since you need to have virtual meetings because you're spending all your time in the doctor's office.
All our meetings are virtual because the executive board comes from all over the state. And for one time, we did meet in the Middletown Service Center, but that was meant that some people had to drive an hour and a half. So we've been doing virtual meetings, but when we do board basics, we do it, it's not a hybrid meeting. We're doing it from a central location.
Okay, gotcha.
So, no, I'm not doing any hybrid meetings. Everybody's just there or tuning in to a virtual meeting.
Okay, well, now I don't know what the other people's preferences were. Since I
My
wasn't
preference is a virtual meeting.
for the time being.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know what other people were feeling or what the other discussion was about. So
Pat, I would agree with Gail. Virtual meeting for the time being.
Yeah, I like virtual meetings.
Same. Yeah. I like the accessibility. Like, I definitely think having a hybrid option once that infrastructure is in place will be the best of both worlds, because then you get that in-person connection, but still keep it accessible to everyone. But yeah, in the meantime, I put my vote in for virtual. Just it makes it very easy to get here, because then wherever I am, I got my phone with me, I can tune into the meeting.
I would ask everyone to stand up and show what they're wearing, from the waist down, but I won't do that. So
Virtual works no matter what the weather is.
that's true. You don't have cancellations.
Never mind the weather. It means that when I'm out around the state I do genealogy, so I'm rushing home. I don't have to worry about being home by 7 o'clock. I can tune in.
Yeah, because a lot of times, it would be very hard for me to attend even more regularly than what I'm doing now because of my work schedule. So is anyone, dying to have in-person meetings?
I think there's one member of the board that's not here tonight that's dying to have in-person meetings.
Yeah. And we all know who that is. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it's sort of a process of elimination, isn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for her, but there are definitely advantages to in-person over virtual. There's advantages to virtual over in-person. I think a good hybrid setup will make everybody happy enough. But
Yeah.
yeah, in the meantime, somebody's going to be left out.
One of the other things I really like is having the ability for you to share documents on the screen.
Yeah.
I find that very helpful, where in a large meeting, it's difficult sometimes to see the documents that are being posted. So I like that aspect of it too, that type of thing. So, okay, so I guess at this point, do we need to vote on this, Donna? No?
I don't think you need to vote.
Okay, so at this point, we'll just continue as we are with the virtual meetings, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next item is the budget.
No new information on the budget other than what Donna reported about the referendum.
Okay. Let's see, and let's see, policy review. I think we have that. Is there anything you want to go over specifically tonight?
There's not any, yeah, I guess so. So tonight we would ideally, if we're ready to vote on the policies that we originally had in February. Let me share my screen so I can put that up.
Is this in our packet?
This is in your packet. Yep.
Yeah.
So right after the photo
Got
of
it.
the internet things.
This was part 3.
So it's part 2, and so part 2 is what we would be voting on. Part
Okay.
3 is what we would theoretically vote on next month or at a future meeting.
Okay.
So for everything that we would vote on, there's not a whole lot that I made too many adjustments to. Largely just changing the pronouns from he, she to they.
You can't use they presents. I'm sorry.
Well, they present, so I should take that S off.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I made a note here to discuss the maximum items that anybody can have checked out to their card.
Whoa.
So Bibliomation doesn't have any limits. You could check out as many items as you want. So this maximum of 40 items checked out at one time is our personal policy. Some libraries have policies like this, some don't have any. I think that maybe 40 items is a little bit low, but I also don't mind having a cap on it in case we do need to exercise it. But it's just an access issue. Theoretically, we want people to be able to take out as much as they need and not have to worry about having too many items. But I also don't, I think having a cap isn't bad as long as you're not really going to hit it unless you're being irresponsible. But 40 items, if you take out a stack of kids' books for
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row, you could hit 40 items.
Yeah, and also if you're doing movies and videos and whatnot
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So
Okay, and now is that clear that applies to checking out in person and checking out on things online, or is this just online?
so this is physical items. I think this was written if physical items in mind. It doesn't mention online items at all.
Okay. So I mean, I could go to the library and pick up 40 things and have them out at one time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, didn't know that. So this there's no limit. You said you were thinking about having a limit on the online stuff too?
Well, the online stuff has limits built into it. So there are limits to the online things. They just, our overdrive rules are made consortium wide. So on Libby, you can check out 7 items at a time. It used to be 5 and they bumped it up to 7.
Okay.
We have some in-house rules that I thought were part of the policies, but they've just been on posters since before I was here. So we have a limit of how many DVDs you can take out, how many new DVDs, so you're not clearing out the new shelf. So right now we have a maximum of 4 new DVDs is our rule, but that's not part of the policy. It's just what we've been kind of doing, I guess, informally for the past several years. And then for regular DVDs, non-new stuff was 10 total. So everybody would have a chance at the collection.
Okay.
And then passes, used to be a limit for one per family. Because they're mostly digital now, that's not really necessary. It's rare that a lot of the passes are out at a single time. Usually 1 or 2 are out in a given day. So I don't think it's something we need to limit. I think if somebody wants to take 2 items out at once, I think that's fine. And if it's something we decide we need to limit for like school vacation weeks or something like that, maybe that's something we could address. But yeah, my suggestion for passes would be just to get rid of the 1 per family for 3-day limit. And then because digital passes are 1 day, you don't have to worry about having to return anything. So, and that's kind of a big hitch if somebody doesn't bring stuff back. And nearly everything is digital at this point.
I have a question on the, so on the DVDs, I understand that it's not part of the policy, but if we're going to have signs posted for limits, should we just make mention of that in the policy, that there will be, or there may be limits set on certain materials by the library staff? Because if we don't, then somebody could point to the policy and say, I want to take out 40 DVDs.
Yeah, you
Because
could put, yeah.
your policy doesn't say I can't.
Yeah, something like these may change at the discretion of the librarian.
Sure. We could just put something in that loan period and limits section. Loan periods and limits on the number of items may be borrowed are established to provide users with an adequate amount of time to use materials and return them so they are available to others.
No, I think
Limits on different item types may, are subject to the discretion of library staff.
yeah, something like that. That gives
Yeah,
you the
yeah.
flexibility, so somebody can't point to the policy. if
Yeah,
you
these
change
limits
it.
may be changed at the discretion of library staff.
Okay.
That seems pretty simple. How's that?
So what I would do then is, yeah, I would get rid of the specific DVDs then. And that way, if something needs to be changed or we decided that it should be something different, it doesn't have to go through a whole hullabaloo
Yeah.
of putting up
Yeah.
the policies and
Good idea. I think that's an excellent idea.
discretion of library staff. Okay.
And so then you're taking out the DVD limits?
Yeah, so the maximum of 4 at one time and maximum of 10 at one time. We'll just get rid of those and it's
Okay.
just the loan periods. And then for, if we just want to have a ceiling for how many items you can have out, this is something that I kind of see. It would be a little difficult for us to police it very closely because Bibliomation Evergreen can't be set up to stop lending you items when you hit 50. So it's just something the staff has to kind of watch and look at. So my point is just that it's a policy that may be leaned on when it's being abused more than something that we would probably count every day.
And that is within the discretion of the librarian to change. Because these limits may be increased or they may be decreased.
Okay, do you want to get rid of the 40, any specifics at all and say?
No, let's leave that in there because,
Okay.
so,
I would like to leave that in there also,
Yeah.
Pat.
I mean, I just don't. I have a hard time believing that somebody could do that, but
Yeah.
But I suppose they could, and it gives them a notice that it's not absolutely unlimited.
And that is per user, not per household. So it could be 150 items if the husband, the wife, and the child each take out the maximum.
Oh, good, yeah.
Right?
Well, there's no way we could
Yeah, that's
police
right.
households, is there?
No, I don't know.
It would just be difficult to you know, some of the households are connected, their library cards, so you can look to see what each of the children has from the parents' account. But it's not set up to do that.
Now, that's when the librarian will exercise his discretion.
Right, so I think that's great. I think that,
You
You
have
know.
a policy, you have limits and then, but you can throw them all away.
yeah, when you
I
need
like
to.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So I'll make that little change there. And then I just suggested moving the table for fees for lost items.
that's, whoa. Fees for lost items, only $5 for a hardcover book?
These are like processing fees. And you know, I'm happy to open them up. We don't really charge late fees, so lost item fees kind of go within that too. There's a small cost in staff time and stickers and materials like that, but
It's not
$5
that much.
isn't really
Okay.
that.
But that doesn't mean that the book will never be returned, or, you know, I mean, if a book is lost, don't they have to replace the book?
Well, that's what it's
Yes.
for. It's for the, you know, it's just for, so they pay for the cost of the item, and then, you know, we put the plastic shielding on the outside of the hardcover books
Yep.
and put the
If
spine
you-
labels on and all that stuff. So theoretically, that's what those fees are for.
If you look at the bottom of the table, there's a line that says the fee for replacing an item which is lost or damaged beyond repair is the current replacement cost of the items.
Right.
Fees for repairs are as follows. So you're gonna put the table down below that.
Yes,
I see. Okay, now I understand.
which I think was the original intention. It just
Okay,
jumbled around.
all right, so that's our library fees. Okay, got it.
Okay, and then for the hotspot and tablet lending policy, I took out the devices returned in a book drop or a different library will be fined $10. It's just not really a fine that we've done in the past and that has been necessary. So since we don't do fines, I thought we could get rid of that one. And then I
Okay.
took out the specific cost of the hotspots and tablets, $180 and $120, because you can just say up to the full replacement cost, and that
Yeah.
covers no matter what they cost.
Well, go back up again, would you?
Sure. Yeah.
If, wait a minute, the borrower refuses to pay the replacement cost for the device, well, they will be blocked from further borrowing purposes until the amount is below $5. Is that correct? That's $5, right?
Yeah, that's the cap limit. So if you have more than
Okay.
$5 and anything that you owe us, we won't check anything new out to you.
Okay, so it's meant to be $5.
Oh, it is $5. Does it not look like $5?
Yes.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, so if I have one lost item, or, you know, I have that one $5 charge for something,
Yeah.
that means I get one bad point and I lose my ability to borrow from the library. Is that right?
Until you pay for it.
Okay,
So if you have a lost item, your card's kind of blocked until you pay for the lost item.
okay,
That doesn't impede people's ability to use the library very often. If somebody has a lost item, we renew it on their account several times before we would put our foot down about them not taking anything else out.
okay,
We'll give them lots of opportunities to search for it at home. And together we kind of come to a conclusion that it's lost. They may claim that they brought it back. Usually people don't fight about these things too much, but we give them a lot of notice before it goes to lost. If it's overdue by, 4 weeks, and we'll just have a conversation with them before we restrict access.
And that includes children?
Yep, that includes children. Yeah, once
Okay.
the parents are responsible for what's taken out in the children's accounts
Okay,
for the cost of it.
thank you.
And museum passes, just a couple of quick changes here. And a lot of this has to do with how we do museum passes differently than we used to. So physical museum passes are available on a first come, first served basis. Digital passes may be reserved up to 30 days in advance of their use date. This is something that can be done through the TixKeeper software that we use. So it's kind of automated and it lets them plan ahead, which is nicer than having to race in first thing in the morning and be the one that grabs the passes. And then I just specify physical passes must be returned inside the library or in the DVD drop. Digital passes don't have to be returned at all. They can just be thrown away. And the director may place limits on how many passes may be checked out to a single family during high use periods.
Can we add single family or group?
Sure.
Because I mean, what's the Cub Scouts come? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Group. And maybe just to match the other policy, I'll change director to library staff.
Okay,
I think the other full-time staff are plenty capable of making that decision if need be.
excellent.
Yep, and that's the end of this section. It was a little bit of a longer section. Anything you'd like to review, or if you're ready to vote, we can vote. If you want me to make the changes that we talked about and then provide you with a cleaner copy for the next meeting, I can do that as well.
I had one quick question. Where was it? The interlibrary loans. That's when you borrow something through the Douglas Library and it's sent to the Douglas Library?
Yes.
So it's not
Yeah.
if I went over to Glastonbury and used my card to get a book or something.
No, that's just the Connecticut card, reciprocal lending agreement means you can use your card in Glastonbury. Interlibrary loan is physically an item from another library coming here.
So, okay,
So you can get you could get a Glastonbury item. It's a little trickier because different consortia. But yeah, if we don't own something, another library will send it in. We get a delivery every morning through the state service. And it goes on hold for them. And then once it gets returned, we send it back to the owning library.
okay. So would it be?
It's like the book group that meets at the American Legion. They get, like 15 books or 20 books that the group will be reading, and they're from all over the state. I mean, Roxbury,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand now. That was my only question.
Yeah, there are two types of interlibrary loan, but I don't think we need to parse it too much. But yeah, it's
If it goes through Douglas, it's got it. If it comes from Douglas, it goes to Douglas.
right.
Got it. Okay.
Actually, now that
Oops.
I'm looking at that again, this is referring to interlibrary loan service as interlibrary loan service through the state library. These are materials. I need to clarify this. I didn't think about it when I read it, but it's saying it out loud now. When we get material that's from within the Bibliomation Consortium, so Coventry, for example, if they send over a book and it's checked out here and they return it to Coventry, or they return it to Bridgeport, or they return it to any other library in our system, no issue at all. It's gonna make a slip to send it back to Coventry, the owning library, and it's gonna take it directly off that patron's card. Works seamlessly.
So
If
you're going to reword this then?
I'm gonna reword it. Yeah. Because it has to do with there being two different types of interlibrary loan, intra-consortia and extra-consortia. And these are items coming from outside of Bibliomation, which means when they come to our library, we have to create a temporary record for that item. so that it can be checked out to the patron's card. And then when it's
Yeah.
returned, we have to delete that temporary record and send it back to the library. So it's very confusing if they send it to the wrong library and they're trying to process that. So
Okay.
that's why that should be, those should specifically be returned here.
Okay, so you can make that nice
Yes.
and put this there. The
Right.
other thing I had, you have fines and fees, and then you have a subcategory of fees for lost items. Shouldn't there be another subcategory above museum passes, whatnot, fees for overdue items?
Um,
No.
we don't
Because
have
you just
any
jump
fees
into
for
fines
overdue
and
items.
fees. And I don't know what the fee is. I see $10 per day, but I don't really know if it's an overdue item until I start reading the next paragraph.
I see. Um,
Because all of a sudden it's just museum passes $10 per day. What is that a fee for? It costs $10 a day to get the museum pass?
No, if it's,
yeah,
what I
that
mean?
is,
Yeah.
I see that. So we should create a subheading under fines and fees called overdue fines.
Yeah.
And then
Like,
all of
you know,
that
like
fits in
in
overdue
the same,
fines.
yeah, the same way you have fees for lost items, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Because that's confusing to me.
Yep, that is confusing. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Because of all the little changes here and there, maybe it makes sense for me to make these changes and have us vote on them in a future meeting.
Sorry. Yeah, I think so.
No, it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's better to be clear.
Yeah,
It's-
because, people are always looking for loopholes.
They
So
are.
I'm amazed by how they try.
They do. They
Yeah,
do.
I'm serious. It's really bad
We had a
sometimes.
gentleman drive across the state to try and like take advantage of our DVD rental policy, and we had to
What?
lock him down. It's just because, all the local libraries around were onto him and further and further away to try and get around it.
Wow.
That's devotion.
Yeah, everybody's got a hobby.
Okay, so we're going to table voting on policy number 2.
Yep, and then part 3, couple of small changes here, nothing too big. Let's get down here so we can see. So under collection development policy, a balanced collection will represent all points of view on a subject. I just added reasonably, as much as reasonably possible. It just gives me a way to say that I don't have to add absolutely everything if,
I understand.
yeah, so something to hide behind there. Selection guidelines, I just took out the specific formats because we don't need to specify what formats we're purchasing for. I don't think. I think we can just purchase what we think belongs in the collection, and that's what we do. I don't think we have to say that it's limited to these 5 or 6 things because we already do more than that.
Okay.
Under deselection and weeding, just added the there. And I deleted the end of that sentence. The library will engage in the withdrawal of materials which are worn, outdated, duplicated, or no longer of interest. So period, as opposed to, as well as donated items which the library chooses not to add to the collection. They're not being weeded because they were never part of the collection.
Got it.
That makes sense.
Items approved with the collection may be offered to the Friends of the Douglas Library, the general public, other libraries, schools, town entities, nonprofit groups, or recycled. So just added a couple more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then I didn't go into requests for reconsideration because I know that we've kind of had we've intended to have a more of a discussion about it.
Yeah.
So I just, I thought that we would address that separately. I think the request for reconsideration policy isn't in too bad of shape. I think it makes sense. It's clear, but it can always be tightened up.
Yeah, you've got the basic steps, but I think we have to define the standards a little better so we have something that we can lean on.
Okay.
And say, oh, okay, well, here's the standard, and because I want the librarian to have as much discretion as possible,
Yeah.
so that our basically we're like reviewing it. And I would like the standard to be something similar to abuse of discretion. Meaning, you really had to screw it up, Kevin,
Yeah.
for us
Thank you.
to change.
Yeah.
So
Well, what is it? The selection guidelines are fairly broad. So
Yeah.
some materials, so,
I don't know.
based off of individual
legal-
merits of each item, popular
jargon.
demand and suitability to material, existing library holdings, and cost.
Yeah, and in legal jargon, when you have an appeal from a court decision, there's two types of review that the appellate court does. One is called a review de novo, which is the court can go in and substitute its own judgment for that of the court. And they have the right to start from square zero and make their own decision. The other one is basically abuse of discretion, which they use for fact finding, because the judge is there, he's the one that sees it. And that is basically, you have to show that the person, he acted basically in an arbitrary or capricious manner, and in a way that could not be seen as reasonable at all. And I would prefer to have that standard, not that this particular board would be that activist to override his decision, but I don't know about future boards. I hate to say it, but
Yeah,
so I would rather, come up with some sort of standard that recognizes that he has the ultimate authority and we're just there in case he abuses his discretion. Or something like that. You see where I'm going, Kevin?
I think so.
Yeah.
So, use.
Yeah. Would then determine material in question was selected according, whether the librarian abused his discretion when selecting material according to this policy, or something like that. Because if we have to go back and look, the material in question was selected, we have to go through the policies and say, this is, this was the proper policy, this was a proper policy. I'd rather just say, we're going to look to see if you abuse your discretion.
Okay.
In making your choice.
Okay. I'll see what I can do about toying with that. If I can get it sent out to you
Yeah.
in the next couple of weeks, I will. If not, it may be a
'Cause
discussion that
we
continues
don't
into the summer.
we don't want to do de novo review and look at an item and see if it fits with the policy or not. We just want to, look at it enough to say that, he wasn't arbitrary, capricious. He didn't, he just didn't decide on this and didn't follow the standards, something that gives you a lot more leeway.
Okay. I understand now, I think.
Yeah.
Until you see what I've come up with and realize I didn't understand, but I think I
Then
understand.
we'll figure it out. No.
Yeah.
But Kevin, if you can, meet or send a copy to Pat, and Pat can review it, because she's more familiar with how the legal
Well-
system can work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll send it out to the whole board and
Yeah, and Dale, what I'm trying to do is making it not only giving him a great deal of discretion, but trying to make it bulletproof at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I understand that, and you have a lot better understanding of making sure you have the right bullet point.
That's what I do. So,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
okay, so this was that was just for discussion to potentially vote on in a future month anyway.
Yeah.
So those are all good suggestions and we'll try and come up with something. that's
Okay,
better.
now, going through this, what happens if I come running into the library and saying, God has told me to take this book off the shelf, and I grab it and run off with it, or decide to burn it on the floor?
Oh, I think we call the police in that case.
I mean, do we have a policy for crazy?
Yeah, I mean, the policy for anything like that would, if you're stealing items, if you're causing damage, that's a
Because, I mean,
police
that's
issue,
what
that's not
happened
us.
in 2 libraries in the state. One,
Mm.
they took it off the shelf and were going to demanded to burn it there on the spot.
Oh,
And
yes.
the other one was that they actually took the book.
Well, we've dealt with that a little bit here in the past couple of months. We had some individuals that were censoring the collection based off of it's a movie called Bros. It's a gay romantic comedy. And we were finding that those were just disappearing off the shelf and nobody had circulated them. So I bought it several times and I put out a sign that said, we are going to keep buying this if you keep taking it. So you're not going to win, essentially. I think it just becomes at that point, you know, if you have the resources and it's worth it to drill down and figure out who the person is that's doing it, then you can maybe get the police involved. But in most
Yeah, because
cases,
I mean, you know, I'm standing there, I'm library staff. What do? I mean, it should be in the policies, correct?
well, that's a behavior policy more than a materials policy.
No,
Stealing is
that's
a
what
behavior
I'm saying.
policy.
Like, when can we kick people out of the library? Sorry.
Yeah, we have a behavior policy. Maybe we just
Okay.
haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that it mentions burning books in the building, though. Maybe we can be more specific.
Yeah.
But you know, it's fairly
pouring-
broad just in terms of any kind of disturbing anybody else or
Another
disturbing their
favorite was pouring
experience.
blood on things or other materials
Hmm.
or peeing on them. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's vandalism. Yeah. But you know what they could do? They could check out the item and never bring it back. And what that would do is their library card would be billed. They can choose to pay for the item or not pay for the item. If they choose to pay for, and then I see what materials have been lost, particularly new items, and I make the decision whether to add them back to the collection.
Okay.
So there's a roundabout way of getting it back in. But they could hope that if they pull it out of the collection that way, I won't deem it important enough to repurchase and I'll decide to purchase something else newer.
Okay.
Uh,
That's in your discretion.
But
Yeah.
it's
And,
no, yeah,
and we'll have to adapt to whatever craziness people come up with.
yeah. Thankfully, we haven't had too many issues here. That was that seemed to be the biggest one so far, but you never know.
Okay. So we tabled policy review for a vote for another meeting. And I guess the next item is Kevin's leave plan under new business.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I've had discussions with Claire and Sherry about you know what parts of my responsibilities need to be taken care of while I'm gone, what can wait till I'm back. It's my intention to check my email, you know, once a week, just to see if there are any fires or anything that I can answer to help out a little bit. But so my general responsibilities have been split up between those two.
Mm.
I've tried to get the budget in order as much as I can, so everything, and then when I come back in June, I can button it up for the end of the year. Actually, and this is new information, I just emailed it over to Donna, and I don't know if she's seen it yet, but I do know when I'm going to be out. Starting will be the 24th, will be the first day out. So I'll be gone from April 24th through, I think, June 9th.
So you're going to miss 2 meetings? Is that right? Forgot.
I would come back probably the day of the new meeting. And this is all, it's all kind of by ear. It depends, you know, what medically needs to happen and how everything is working out at home.
Okay.
So in regards to these meetings, Sherry Wood will be taking my place. And I've instructed her on building the agenda and kind of putting together some of the basic items, but I don't expect her to go as far with the packets and the policies and everything as I generally do. So I've asked her to get a finance report from the finance office. I spoke to Tammy over there to send it to her. And to yeah, make sure the meeting gets recorded, make sure it gets posted with the town clerk, and just give a short report of building and ongoings in the library over the past month.
Okay.
Are Claire and Sherry going to be compensated for taking over your responsibilities?
That's not a conversation that I've had with Andy, but I don't have control over that. I know they will be picking up some extra weight.
Yeah.
But we have not had that conversation.
Donna, would that be something you would have to address?
We can talk with Kevin offline, but there is a provision in the personnel policies for working above your job description for over a certain number of days. So we can talk about that
Okay.
offline.
Perfect. Okay, any other new business?
I don't have any.
No? I'm sorry, someone spoke. Okay. How about strategic plan committees? I found out I'm on the oversight committee. And so is Kevin, right?
Yep, it's us. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Did
That's
we
what
do
happens.
anything? Sorry. Is this where we get reports from the different committees?
Yeah, we can just go around and get a report from the different committees. I'm not sure how much action has been taken, but I think we just need to get in the habit of doing this every meeting and starting to move forward on some of these issues.
Okay, for the oversight committee, Kevin, did we do anything?
We filled up with Meg and Ann. We filled in the empty slots in the remaining committees. So those are all fully staffed, but that's about as much as we've done. So for the oversight committee, since we try to keep everything on track, I think it's almost more of like a biannual or semi-annual thing where we just kind of see where we're at and see if we need to make adjustments. I don't think we need to have too much month to month on that committee.
Now, do these committees meet regularly, like welcoming interval, blah, blah?
I think they probably should, not super regularly, but it'd be nice to meet every other month or something like that, even if it's just for a conversation about what's happening next.
Okay.
A lot of these goals are, I think they're maybe building towards a budget request or seeing what can happen, in like a smaller term to push these goals forward. So I think those meetings are just, what are we working on now? What are our next steps? And they don't have to be huge involved things.
And who will be scheduling these meetings?
Probably a conversation that needs to happen between all the committee members.
Okay, okay. Are the committee members listening?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So we would reasonably expect by the time that you came back from leave that we would have reports from these committees, correct?
At least something, yeah. At
Okay.
least, I think you should have something to report at least every other month.
Well, I was just
Yeah.
thinking for the first time around while they get organized and whatnot.
For sure, yeah. Just
Yeah.
used to the structure of.
And it would be sort of like a coming back gift. Sorry.
Can't wait to open it up.
Okay. Is there anything that anyone on any of the strategic plan committees wanted to say tonight about what's going on with their committee? I just gave you an out, by the way, if you don't have anything to report. Okay. That is the last item on the agenda. Is there anything I missed? No? Okay. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
So, second,
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? And abstentions. And Kevin, I wish you the best on your leave, and I hope, will
Yes,
let us
good
know
luck.
what's happening, huh?
Thank you. I'll come back tireder and more
Older, a
harried.
lot older.
Yeah, yeah.
Best
It'll be
wishes
all
to
great.
you.
Okay, well,
Thank you
keep
very
us
much.
apprised, tell Donna so Donna can let us know.
I'll try to. I'll see what I can do to get pictures and stuff sent around.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Good.
nice.
Okay,
That's good stuff.
okay. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Good
luck,
night.
Kevin. Thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.